Well, good night. My name is Juliana Zamarra, and I'm going to talk tonight about cultural diversity and its effects on team performance. It's important to clear out, first of all, different mechanisms through which cultural diversity affects team performance. In the first place, we have the similarity attraction theory, which establishes that people are attracted to working with those that are similar to them in the terms of values, beliefs, and attitudes. Also, in the second place, we have the social identity and categorization theory, which determines that people categorize themselves in certain groups and tend to see the others that are part of that group as outsiders. Then they tend to have some sort of favoritism with the persons that are part of the group they've categorized themselves in. So these two theories suggest a negative effect of the cultural diversity in the team's performance. In contrast, we have a third theory, which is the information and information processing theory, that exposes that diversity brings a contribution to the team, having a broader range of perspectives that lead to creativity, innovation, and adaptability in different kinds of situations. Well, as I've said before, cultural diversity will bring a higher number of divergent processes into the team activities, which might lead to gains or losses in the team performance. There are different critical aspects that affect team performance in relation to cultural diversity that I'm going to talk about right now. So, first of all, we have the divergence that is brought by cultural diversity that increases creativity because it allows team members to have a higher amount of perspectives and mental models that are brought in by each culture that increase the amount of alternatives and criteria that evaluate these alternatives that weren't considered before by the group. In the second place, we have that cultural divergence can bring a higher amount of potential conflicts because there are different task conflicts that relate to the different opinions and points of view of the team members that might rise into conflicts. These conflicts are more difficult to identify the source of the problem and then to solve it because of the different cultural subconscious effects. In the third place, we have the communication effectiveness that it is said to being affected negatively by the cultural diversity, but still this varies according to the context that we are going to talk about later. Right now there is not a direct impact on this variable by the cultural diversity, but according to the context that I'm going to explain later, we'll see how it varies. In the fourth place, we have the satisfaction. There was a belief that satisfaction was meant to be when we were working with similar people in terms of values, attitudes, and different characteristics. But in accordance to the results that have been reached with the study, there is more satisfaction when we are working with multicultural groups. Also, in the fifth place, we have the social integration. Social integration is negatively affected by cultural diversity because of what I said before of the similarity attraction theory and social categorization. As we are in multicultural groups, well, we don't tend to like to work with people that are similar to us in terms of values, and also they might not be part of the group in which we classify ourselves. So the social integration decreases when we are in cultural diversity groups, in cultural diverse groups. Um, Also, it's important to take into account that social integration is related to the satisfaction that we have when we relate to other team members, the collaboration, the cohesion, and the dream coordination that leads to trust when we work with people from different countries in a project. Well, on the other hand, There are different levels and types of cultural diversity that will affect the team performance key aspects that I've mentioned before. So, in the first place, we have the surface level that describes the differences among team members in relation to demographic characteristics, like, for example, nationality. This might trigger similarity attraction theory and the social categorization theory that will have adverse impacts on the team performance. For example, some of the negative impacts that it might have is on the communication effectiveness. On the other hand, we have the deep level aspects of culture that are related to the psychological characteristics of the team members that are essentially based on attitudes, beliefs, and values. So, this might have a negative effect on the different key team performance aspects, but it is still supposed to have a positive effect in relation to the information processing effects that are related to the different cognitive perspectives that each culture brings. So it brings us like innovation and creativity. Also, we must have into account that in the results of the research, there has been seen on this cultural level a positive relation between cultural diversity and the communication effectiveness. And also, at last, we have an emphasis that was made in the reading um, on cross-national and international diversity. So, in the international diversity, there is a higher amount of relatively common aspects within a single country. For example, because of the same educational system, there could be, or this could lead to common beliefs and values and language and different communication aspects that are not seen across different nations. So, still seeing this like difference in the cultural diversity in a same country and across different countries, there still has been found that in the international diversity is as significant as cross-national diversity. So there is like the same level of impact between them, between this diversity, and sometimes it is seen a higher impact in the international diversity, but this tends to happen because there are seen higher barriers, and there is a lack of acknowledgement of this international diversity when there is, for example, a fusion of enterprises. They don't take into account this international diversity, and this might lead to different problems in the collaboration between the company in future activities. Well, um, we have to take into account also the context aspects that affect the team performance as combined with cultural diversity. So this will be the moderators of the cultural diversity. So first of all, we have the task complexity, which increases as there is a higher interdependence and a non-structured activity. So this combined with cultural diversity might lead to a higher amount of conflicts that are related to the activity itself. So the divergence of opinions and different points of view. In the second place, we have the team size. So in the team size, we have that as the number of team members increases, the level of communication and coordination will decrease. So this will have a negative impact in the satisfaction of the team members, as it reduces the group process and the group outcome, like quality and quantity. So this might be caused by the number of variables that the team will have to manage as the number of team members increases. So in the third place, we have the team dispersion. So the team dispersion refers to the degree in which team members are like distributed in different locations. So this tends to decrease the conflicts and increases the social integration as compared with being with having team members like co-located. So this might be an effect of the virtual communication, because having virtual communication will reduce like the ability to share conflicting ideas, and it reduces like the aspects that are evaluated when I have like the similarity attraction theory and the social categorization. So as I don't have a direct interaction with the team members, I don't have like the different aspects that I evaluate in order to like categorize them in a certain group in which I classify myself, or like have like a critical understanding of the attitudes and beliefs that they have in order to determine the similarity attraction theory. And at last, we have the team tenure. So the team tenure is the amount of time that a team has spent together. So as controversial as it seems, in the study, it was found that as a team has a higher amount of time together, there will be a higher amount of conflicts and a less effective communication. So this contrast with the analysis that was made before the results came out. So in the analysis, we have that as the team has a longer period of time together, they will like create an identity of the group, and also they would have like an appreciation for the psychological characteristics and differences among the team members, which would reduce the negative effects of cultural diversity. But still, well, the results show that they that in contrast, the higher the period of time or the longer the period of time that they share together, there will be a higher amount of conflicts and a less effective communication that will like have a negative effect on team performance and productivity in the end. Well, finally, I would like to talk about my ex-culture project experience. So, there weren't any conflicts between the team members. We usually just exposed our ideas and voted for the one that was more suitable for the development of our activities. So I think this happened maybe because, as I perceive, uh, each one of the team members came from a collective culture. So we looked for our overall performance as a team and not as an individual task. Therefore, we all exposed our points of view and accepted it and proposed different solutions that wouldn't express like or have an explicit conflict. Still, I think that in accordance to being a collective culture, we didn't express conflicting ideas or perceptions in order to keep the harmony within the group, which might have reduced the level of creativity of our proposals for the company that we had to analyze. Also, I didn't perceive like a real social integration between us, as we like focused primarily on the development of the project. Although I did become friends with someone of the team, but she is from Colombia. In relation to the satisfaction, I think we did a good job, but we had we had so much responsibilities. Like each team member had different responsibilities. One of them was working also, so I think that that led to dividing the work that we had to do and just comply with the different due dates in order to like upload the report, taking into account the different time differences the time differences among us, which also reduced the social integration between us. This might have caused this might have been caused also, as the reading says, by the team dispersion that led like to a virtual communication, which might have reduced like the ability to share conflicting ideas, and also the social integration level. In relation to the team size, sometimes I really thought that we should have been 5 team members, not 6, because in most of the times there was one team member that wasn't really like contributing to the work that we were doing, but still no one said anything, and I think that's because of the dispersion and the collectivity cultural aspect that I've mentioned before. And to finally, at least we have in relation to the team tenure, I think we had like a short period of time to develop our project, so maybe this could be related to the lack of conflicts and the good communication effectiveness. But in general, I think we had like a good result. I did like having communication with people from different like cultures and different languages. So I think we did a good job, but still I think we could have had like more social integration and like a more sharing uh, from our like personal activities or getting to know each other. But still this was like the way it was done. and still I did learn a lot from the experience.